Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the July 8th edition of Sports on Sunset. I'm James Jericho.
Today's the 8th?
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm Jeremy Paul.
We are back in the dungeon of Marty's. Now, people have asked why we always tape at Marty's as opposed to, say, the Comedy Store or the Improv, and there's a massively important reason for that. The desperation is just pouring out of every crack in the skin of the comics over at the Comedy Store. They're just sitting there just begging. It's like, wow, maybe if I could sneak onto that YouTube sports show that averages 50 hits a week at best, that could be my big break. On the other hand, over here, everybody just gets high.
Hi.
Yeah. Our topic this week is the All-Star break, starting after the Sunday night ESPN game. It's going to be held in Kansas City, and it occurred to me, this is the most important week in baseball that Kansas City has had in decades. This used to be one of the model franchises in Major League Baseball, and frankly, I would argue that it is still a fantastic baseball town. For example, they still have the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum there, so it wouldn't be there regardless of how bad the Royals are. It wouldn't have been there if it weren't a good baseball town in the first place. And of course, as we know in the Negro Leagues, the Monarchs were probably the Yankees of that. Here's the upshot. It has been 27 years since the last time the Royals have been in the playoffs. They won the world title over St. Louis in 1985. Since then, nothing. Every other team in the major leagues has gone to playoffs except the Royals, including all four expansion teams. And all four expansion teams, I might add, have even reached the World Series. They have had 4 100-loss seasons in the last 5 years. They have had one winning season since 1985. They had it in 94. They were 4 games over 500, lost over 100 games the next year. Their current owner is former Walmart executive David Glass. They are currently 27th in payroll, currently 10 games below 500, and they have one player on the All-Star team in their own stadium this year. One guy, because you have to have a player on each team in the All-Star game, no matter how bad you are. Now, we've avoided talking baseball a lot here because Jeremy's not much of a baseball fan, but if there's one thing Jeremy does understand, it's losing. So with that said, I'm sure you've done a little bit of studying on this. Why, in your opinion, have the Kansas City Royals been so bad for so long?
They let Bo Jackson leave. And Bo Jackson been paying for the last 18 years. They've been in the playoffs.
There's no playoffs.
I've been holding that in
all week.
Since you told me.
18 years. You're expecting a guy with hip replacement surgery to have played 18 additional years of Major League Baseball.
If it wasn't for Bo Jackson, I wouldn't know who the Kansas City Royals are. I wouldn't at all. I wouldn't even know Kansas City had a baseball team if it wasn't for Bo Jackson. I forgot. I simply forgot. I was like, oh, yeah, Bo Jackson played for Kansas City. I forgot they were even a team.
You've inspired me. Name the one team that you root for that has been a traditional loser.
Let's see. Traditional loser. One team that I root for.
Sure. Well, you're a WNBA fan, so that pretty much encompasses an entire league.
Oh, see, that was an unneeded cheap shot at a great league.
It was.
He would never make it.
It was very well. First of all, I didn't make it because I have testicles.
Yeah, sure you did.
Secondly, to which I would say, ask your mom. But seriously,
she told me.
And of course, the other reason that it's a perfectly appropriate shot to take is you didn't even bother to look at anything else other than Bo Jackson in a powder blue jersey.
No. I looked at other things, but come on. Bo Jackson was the most important player in Kansas City Royals history.
No, he wasn't. He may have been the last important player,
Well,
but he wasn't.
I'm talking about in my lifetime.
No, in your lifetime. Yeah.
There's a more important player.
Well, for example, they won the World Series in '85, and you were alive, dude.
Well, yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you want to like pretend you're like a nubile teenager who
I'm
just got
14
off the
years
bus. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm only 3.5 years old. Look,
what I'm saying here is this.
George Brett,
Okay.
Count Craig,
Yeah.
Brett Saberhagen, Bob Boone, well, he didn't play on the
Dawson
85 championship.
Dawson briefly played, right?
I don't believe so.
Really?
No, he was a Cub. Exposed to the Cubs, to the Marlins.
Yeah.
But no, that was actually a loaded.
Yeah.
That was a loaded franchise for a long time. And what wound up happening was around the late 1980s, early 1990s, the original owner of the team died.
Yeah.
And what he did was he tried to set everything up so that nobody would move the team. And so there was an auction with the proviso that the team would stay, and it was sold to David Glass. So since Jeremy has been derelict in his duties...
No. I made what was the joke that I've been holding in. Here's the issue. The topic was how important this is to Kansas City. Am I right?
That, and it were two topics. We want to try and explain why the Royals have been so bad for so long. It's historically bad.
Yes.
It's because not only that, I don't know how bad there have been. You, for example, wish the Charlotte Bobcats would be subjugated to the NBA Development League.
Yeah, bring out the Anaheim Arsenal.
I want you to understand that while the Bobcats have sucked, they've only sucked in their existence, which has been about, what, 6 years, 7 years?
A little longer,
Yeah. 25, 27 years here.
Yeah.
Imagine being the Charlotte Bobcats for winning one title and then playing as bad as Charlotte has for 27 years.
It'd be like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were bad for a long time. Very long.
They would still every so often sneak into the playoffs. For example, John McKay got them to the NFC Championship game in their 5th year,
Yeah.
and of course they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So it took them, what, 30 years to win a Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, that would be 30 years overall. Let's see. So I would say more like 25, but yeah.
Well, see, the problem with the Kansas City Royals isn't just the fact that they let people leave, which happens with all relatively small market franchises. I wouldn't say Kansas City is actually a small market franchise to begin with.
They're not. Have you been to Kansas City?
Yes, I have.
Have you told jokes? Have you told jokes there?
Yeah.
There you go.
So
It's a great town.
Yeah, it's a great town. They just have bad luck of keeping their players. Their management doesn't do the job. Like I said, it was Brett Jackson. There was there was a player, young dude, white dude, can't remember. He left. He left in, I want to say it was 95 or 96, right? I think he went to, sorry.
Well done.
He went to, I want to say he went to the Athletics.
If you're talking about that, you're talking about Johnny Damon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I can't remember who.
Here we go. I'm going to give you...
I did the homework, man. I did the homework.
Well, let's go to the guy who actually remembered his homework. Here's the... It's an absolute travesty that the Kansas City Royals have been this bad. That is a genuinely good baseball town. I was talking with a longtime Kansas City Royals fan, one of the few that I actually know, a comic friend of ours, Reggie Jr., and he postulated that the problem with the Royals is what happens to a lot of small market teams. They become a feeder team for the Yankees.
Yeah.
That's not true. It absolutely isn't.
Well,
here's the problem. While it is true that the Yankees have plucked good players off of other teams via free agency, Kansas City has not been a feeder team to the Yankees. What happened is a twofold issue. Because you see, that St. Louis is in the same state. And Kansas City is actually a larger city than St. Louis, and St. Louis is always in the playoffs or in the title contention. Philip Glass, or I should say David Glass, is a former CEO for Walmart. When he took over in 1993, the first thing he did was cut the team payroll. This is 93, mind you, from 41 million to 19. Bye-bye, lots of players. He's also had and by the way, there's going to be a lot of stories about this guy in the next few days about how he's so great for Kansas City, the city. Don't buy into it. Glass also led the push during the last player strike to get replacement players during the 1995 player strike. And in addition to that, he wanted a salary cap installed for Major League Baseball, which, by the way, for Major League Baseball, an incredibly unwieldy proposition considering the minor leagues compared with the NFL. So you could argue that he has adopted the cost-cutting style of Walmart to running a Major League franchise.
Wholesale.
You're damn straight. Now, there's another issue that's looming on the horizon. He has actually invested money recently, which leads me into part 2 of the problem. Super agent Scott Boras. Now, look, I'm a free market guy. If you have a chance to get money, you should go out and get it. The problem is Scott Boras, in baseball circles, has a profound history of trying to be certain teams' de facto general manager.
Yeah.
For example, yeah, you mentioned he was in the movie Moneyball. At the beginning of the movie, and fictional retelling, I get it, but at the beginning of the movie Moneyball, Billy Bean is yelling at a player agent for effing him. And he mentions the name Scott. The player is Johnny Damon. You see, Damon went from 1 year from Kansas City to Oakland, then signed with Boston. Who was Johnny Damon's agent? Scott Boras. Another player that left Kansas City when he was about to blow up for a massive contract, Carlos Beltran. Who was his agent? Scott Boras. Scott Boras has a number of high-profile studs coming up through the Royal system right now. And we were talking a moment ago about why are the St. Louis Cardinals in the running traditionally when the Royals are not. Number of high-profile Royals on the 40-man roster represented by Scott Boras. 5th overall draft pick, pitcher Bubba Starling. Corner infielder Mike Moustakas. Corner infielder Eric Hosner. Christian Colon. Starting pitcher Luke Hochevar. Zach Miner. And a minor league prospect named Tony Abreu. Hey, St. Louis Cardinals, represented by Scott Boras. Kyle Lowe's, Matt Holliday. Oh, by the way, those guys, mid-30s, which means that they got their last contract by going to the Cardinals, which means the Cardinals got them for a significantly reduced rate because they're on the downside of the career as opposed to the upside.
And that's smart.
Yeah. But to be fair, Beltran is a Cardinal, but Beltran is no longer represented by Scott Boras. And the Cardinals have 2 high-profile prospects with Boras, but the difference is clear. And there's going to be people telling you over these next few days that good times are on the horizon for the Royals because of these high-profile prospects. Don't believe it for a moment. The moment these guys even have a chance to jump ship, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to run like hell. Oh, and by the way, the whole one final point before we abandon ship on this topic.
Well, we didn't even get to what makes this good for Kansas City portion. Because
that's the point. This is like literally the only 3 days in the last 27 years that Kansas City actually matters. It's a fantastic... a solution. Baseball fans in Los Angeles held a revolt to get rid of Frank McCourt last year. Mm-hmm. And Frank McCourt got the Dodgers into the playoffs 3 to 4 times in 7 years. Kansas City, it's up to you. You need to riot.
May I suggest bringing back Bo Jackson?
And then riot.
And then riot. Or, Because the All-Star game is probably the best thing that happened in Kansas City since Derek Thomas had 7 sacks in a game. That's how long it's been since anything good has happened to Kansas City.
With that said, R.I.P. Derek Thomas. Tell him what's on your mind.
What's on my mind is a matter of the big news that's happening. I'm sorry, I keep talking about the NBA because, well, it's baseball season, and well, as we've already mentioned, I am not a fan. Basketball season is still going on, but I'm talking about the off season of NBA basketball. What has just happened over the last week is that Ray Allen has spurned the Boston Celtics and decided to go play in Miami. He's taking his talents to South Beach. Now, they offered Ray Allen $12 million to play for 2 years. That's $6 million a year. Ray Allen took a, I believe, 2-year, $6 million contract with the Miami Heat.
To play for the Heats.
Yes. He'll be coming off the bench instead of starting like he was in Boston. The reason he did so, people are speculating that it's Rajon Rondo. People in Boston are screaming, what happened to loyalty? Oh, what happened to the loyalty? Here's the problem. What happened to the loyalty, Boston? You shipped out Kendrick Perkins after winning the title. What happened to the loyalty? What happened to the loyalty for Al Jefferson? You know, he's wasting away in Utah somewhere, I think. What happened to the loyalty? What happened to the loyalty for Delonte West?
Yeah.
Delonte West got shipped out.
Delonte West has more loyalty from LeBron's mom than the Boston Celtics.
Delonte, what happened to the loyalty? Look, if you're going to scream loyalty, talk to your owners about they ship out players whenever they choose, even if they don't want it. Here's the thing. In the NBA, there is no loyalty. It's a business. You shouldn't be that beholden to your team where you get upset over a player leaving for less money because he wants to win. It's about winning. It has nothing to do with loyalty. It's a team sport. If the team fucks you over, you leave and you go elsewhere because eventually they'll trade you anyway. Or they'll amnesty you out of your contract or not. Or they'll just get rid of you. Or they'll make you wait overseas for 5 years while you're in your prime physical condition, then sign you at the age of 29 like the New York did James White earlier this week. Look, what I'm saying is this. Get your money, Ray Allen. But get your championships. You've been in the league for 18 years. Get your championship, man. Go eat. Lose to the Pistons.
Guys, last week, Michael Johnson, a 4-time Olympic gold medalist sprinter, made what people consider to be a remarkably controversial quote. Difficult as it was to hear, slavery has benefited descendants like me. I believe there is a superior athletic gene in us, which sent a lot of people screaming, and there was a lot of caterwauling and gnashing of teeth. Look, I think that slavery to me is personally appalling. Because I'm Irish, and over 120,000 of my countrymen were sold as slaves in the 17th century to America by the Brits. It's 100 years later, and I still can't touch rim. Why does Michael Johnson get all the benefits from slavery? Why should you get the benefits, huh?
Hey, what about Jews? They were slaves like 6,000 years.
Look, all I'm trying to say is that only my great grandma wore something a little sexier than Sally Hemings, Thomas Jefferson could have changed the fortune of an untold number of Irishmen with a basketball and a dream. It's so annoying. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, sure. You know, everybody wants to have sex with redheaded girls now. Why not then, Thomas Jefferson? Huh? What have you done for me, buddy? I was like sitting there looking up the number of great Irish athletes there were. Here's a who's who for you. John Daly, chain-smoking golfer, the only athlete sponsored by Tommy Burger. That's a great guy right there. George Best, soccer player, drank himself to death. True Irishman. And possibly the absolute best Irish athlete of all time, Jerry Quarry. He's a boxing enthusiast. He knows where I'm going. Jerry Quarry was part of the conversation during the golden age of heavyweight boxers, right? Jerry Quarry wound up being notated throughout boxing history as the white boy who got his ass kicked by Frazier and Ali. Noted Ring magazine writer Bert Sugar once wrote of Jerry Quarry, "Boy, that palooka sure knows how to bleed, don't he?" At least the Jewish people have Sandy Koufax.
Wait.
And Bill Goldberg.
Wait, you got Blake Griffin? His last name's Griffin. That's Irish, right?
Red Bones.
Blake Griffin is somewhat Irish, right?
Look, I will say this. On some level, I might have something in common with black people. My credit rating is about as good as this guy's right here. And another thing, I'm so tired of my people being held down by these damn stereotypes. People of Boston, get it through your head. It's not Celtics, it's Celtics! Get it right, Boston!
He's wearing green, motherfucker!
I am so tired of being held down by the man.
The white man.
Yeah. Freaking Michael Johnson.
Tannish white man. He's actually white.
Pinky, kind of pink.
Yeah, it's kind of peach.
This was a wonderful afternoon. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. I'm James Jericho.
I'm both.